Now, here's Eye on the News with commentator John McClory.
Last week, a District of Columbia jury acquitted Clinton campaign lawyer Michael Sussman of lying to the FBI. This was not totally unexpected, given the number of Hillary Clinton donors among the jurors. Here's what Sussman, a lawyer working for the law firm that counseled the Hillary Clinton campaign in 2016, indisputably said when he contacted his friend Jim Baker, general counsel of the FBI. Quote, "Jim, it's Michael Sussman. I have something time-sensitive and sensitive I need to discuss. Do you have availability for a short meeting tomorrow? I want to help the Bureau. Thanks. I'm coming on my own, not on behalf of a client or company." End quote. Sussman then proceeded to hand over to Baker data and white papers produced for the Clinton campaign, purporting to establish a secret communications network between Donald Trump and the Russian-based Alpha Bank. Did Sussman lie to Baker? Anyone with a high two-digit IQ couldn't help but answer, yes, he's guilty as sin. But the jury acquitted. The forewoman explained that the case wasn't important enough to have been prosecuted. Sussman walked away laughing. Now I concede that Sussman's lie to the FBI was not the crime of the century, but it was indisputably a lie, and it looks like Baker knew it was a lie, which became a factor in Sussman's acquittal. When the Trump defenders say the trial was rigged, I believe they have a fairly strong case. This is John McClory. Thanks for listening.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to wdev@radiovermont.com.
The teams you care about.
Mac Jones is good. That's not the question. The question is he good enough to win repeatedly in this loaded AFC?
The stories that matter to you.
If I'm Xander Bogaerts, I need three things in order to get over that insulting contract offer.
This is your home for New England sports.
Jason Tatum, superstar. Book it.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show on a Tuesday here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Full show tonight, all 90 minutes. We go right up until 7 o'clock. Red Sox baseball again is at 8:38 with the pregame show. First pitch, 9:38. It's game 2 against the Angels after the Sox won a shutout, 1-0 victory last night. That prompted the Angels to fire their manager, Joe Maddon, out after the Angels' losing streak hits 12 games. Well, Phil Nevin is the new interim manager of the Halos, and the Sox look to make him 0-1 tonight. We'll talk about the Red Sox. We'll get some thoughts on the Celtics and Patriots. We're also going to talk in about 15 minutes with Greg Wyshynski, the ESPN NHL insider. We'll talk about the Bruins firing Bruce Cassidy last night. So, again, that comes up in about 15 minutes. You can get in, as always, on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. That's 802-585-3026. Your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live as well. Hit me up anywhere with your thoughts.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts in the Brady Farkas Show, brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber. They are Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. I don't mind the Bruins' decision to fire Bruce Cassidy. I don't mind it, and I can justify it. But the Boston Bruins better be ready for all that decision entails. The Bruins fired Cassidy last night after 6 years at the helm of the organization. He took them to a Stanley Cup. He won Coach of the Year. He's coached some of the best players in hockey. He's coached arguably the best line in hockey. So the decision caught me last night by surprise. I thought that if it was going to happen, it would have happened right after the playoff loss to the Hurricanes. When it didn't, in those few days after, I thought that Cassidy was safe. So last night when the news comes down at about 7:30 p.m., I was surprised. And again, I don't mind the decision for Bruce Cassidy to be out. I certainly can justify it. We've seen right here in our own backyard with the Boston Celtics that a new voice can make a big difference. But if you are Cam Neely and if you are Don Sweeney with the Bruins Leadership Council, you better be ready for all the tentacles that this decision brings about. Number one, you're going to have to answer the question, what are the Boston Bruins right now? What are they? What's the plan? Where are we going? What kind of organization are you? Are you an organization that is trying to do everything it can to win now? Or are you an organization that is stepping back and going through at least a mini rebuild here? Because Bruce Cassidy is a veteran head coach. When he's your head coach, you're trying to win. Are you getting rid of him to bring in a veteran coach like Paul Maurice or Barry Trotz that signals win now? Or are you tearing this thing down to some degree, going younger, getting a roster that will reflect that? I don't know. And the Bruins better know because the questions are going to be asked. I don't mind a fresh voice. Again, the Celtics could have stayed with Brad Stevens forever. They went bold, they got rid of him, and they went after Ime Udoka, and it's worked. I don't mind a fresh voice, but who is that fresh voice going to be if you're the Bruins organization? Is it a younger coach and we're reimagining the whole thing, or is it another tough, hard-nosed vet who is just a different version of Cassidy who's giving the same message just in a different way? My gut tells me the Bruins want a veteran coach. I don't think this organization would want its next head coach to be a first-timer. I think they probably want a veteran with a bit of a softer disposition. Cassidy is known to be hard on veteran players, not known to be great with younger players. So I think that the Bees want an experienced head coach, one who can take this roster back to the playoffs and hopefully win a cup. I think that is the goal. The Bruins want to get back to the playoffs. They want to win a cup. Well, they have Marchand. Well, they have Pasternak. Well, maybe Bergeron comes back in free agency. This group is aging. If they're going to play with it, they want to win. So I think they want a veteran coach who has been there before, but they just want someone who delivers the messages in a different way, a guy who fosters a different attitude in the locker room. And that's kind of what Don Sweeney, the general manager, said today. At his press conference today, Don Sweeney said, it takes its toll. Over the course of time, it takes its toll. You've got to find a way to either develop that message a little differently or the personnel changes and you just cycle it out. Well, the Bruins can't change all the players. The one thing they can do is change the coach, and that's what they've done. If you want to get rid of Bruce Cassidy, I can live with that. But there's a lot of questions now that come out when you do that, and there's a lot of things you better be prepared to answer. Is this team still all in? Or are they selling off pieces, getting younger, and going bold with somebody we've never heard of? That'll be something we continue to watch. And another layer to this discussion for me is, how do the veterans view this situation? Because we can talk about Cassidy's inability to develop young players. We can talk about his inability to relate with young players. And young players are very important. But the bottom line is the Bruins have a group of veterans that need to be okay with everything going on. Okay? The Bruins need to have their veterans on board with things. You need to impress a group of veterans with your next decision. If I'm Patrice Bergeron and I'm a free agent, how am I feeling today? My guess would be not great. Maybe Patrice Bergeron loved Bruce Cassidy, and now you've alienated him and made him mad, and a player you really need back doesn't want to come back. Maybe that's the case. Or maybe Patrice Bergeron didn't love Cassidy, but now you've got to figure out what kind of coach would cause him to sign back and come back with you and not retire or go somewhere else. If I'm Patrice Bergeron and I'm 36 years old, am I coming back for an unknown head coach with no experience? Am I coming back for a retread from somewhere else? The Bees can't base their whole decision on what Patrice Bergeron is going to do, but you absolutely have to make a decision that your veterans and your core group and people that you need are on board with. You have to get this right, not only for the young players, but for your veterans. How do I feel today if I'm Patrice Bergeron? I feel probably not great. If I'm David Pastrnak today, I probably feel not great. Because David Pasternak's going into the final year of his contract. If I'm him, I can't sign a long-term deal today because I don't know the coaching situation. And now, next season, I'm waiting the whole year to see how it plays out. I don't know what's going to happen here. We've got to now. I'm not signing this offseason if I'm Pastrnak because I don't know who the coach is today. When we hire the coach, I don't know if the coach is good and if it's the coach I'll want to play for long term. And now I go into next season wondering, am I going to get traded? Am I going to be here the whole year? Do I want to be here in the future? Am I going to get injured? And how much is that going to impact my money-making ability? David Pastrnak, I'm sure, would like some security in his career. And right now, all he's got on the eve of free agency is massive chaos. So these are questions that the Bruins need to answer. And if I'm veterans right now, I don't think I feel that great. Even if they didn't love Cassidy, they at least knew Cassidy. They don't necessarily know the guy that's coming in next. And sometimes that is scary also. Change the coach, change the voice all you want. Steve Kerr took over for Mark Jackson in Golden State, and it worked. Ime Udoka took over for Brad Stevens with the Celtics, and it worked. It can work. But you are opening up a whole new can of worms now for this organization. If I'm a young player or a developing player, I might be happy about this decision. Because Cassidy doesn't work well with my type, apparently. But if I'm a veteran, I'm really wondering what the plan is for the Bruins because my career is finite. I have to make the most of it, and this decision introduces that chaos. And chaos, when I'm a veteran, is not what I love. Don Sweeney spoke today. We do have some of that audio from his press conference. He said Bruce Cassidy did not take the firing well. Surprise, surprise.
Not well, as I didn't delivering it. You know, I sat there and said I'm the same guy that 6 years ago sat with you to believe in you, and I sat there yesterday believing him as an excellent head coach. It's just I made a very difficult decision, and I had to deliver the news as I would in person and discuss some of the things where we both fell short.
I mean, of course, Bruce Cassidy didn't take the firing well. I wouldn't take the firing well either. If I'm Bruce Cassidy, I'm sitting here thinking I did great things for this organization. And I did it through 2 of my years being impacted by COVID. Think about that. If I'm Bruce Cassidy, here is how I'm thinking today. How dare you fire me? I took you to a cup. I re-brought stability after Claude Julien was fired. So I brought stability. I took you to a cup. I had the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference in my grasp in 2020. The season gets shut down. We lose home ice advantage and have to go play in the bubble. Out in Edmonton, I believe it was. So I had, in 2020, the number 1 seed. I had home ice throughout the playoffs in my fingertips, and we lost it because of COVID. And now you're holding that against me. How dare you, is what I'm thinking if I'm Bruce Cassidy. 2021, the season was impacted by COVID. My division is different. I don't have Ottawa and Montreal to beat up on. And things look differently and things are structured differently. So if I'm Bruce Cassidy, I'm thinking I got a raw deal. I took a team to the cup. I helped reintroduce stability. I had 2 of my 6 years impacted, 1/3 of my tenure impacted by the coronavirus. I wouldn't take it well either if I was Cassidy. I get where he's coming from on this. If I'm Cassidy, this makes 0 sense to me. 0 sense to me. That is exactly how I was feeling. Ralph on the text line, Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. Employers change employees all the time. There's no loyalty. I'm not even as mad about that. I get what Ralph's saying. And Ralph, I appreciate the message, but I'm not even as mad about that. 6 years is a long time. This isn't Steve Wilk in Arizona who got 1 year and got fired. This isn't Brian Flores who only got, I think, 3 years in Miami, and it really felt like that team was ascending. This isn't that. Coaches get totally raw deals all the time, and they get shortchanged all the time. Bruce Cassidy has had time. I am okay with him being fired, but I just think it introduces a lot of questions, and questions you need to be prepared to answer. How does Pasternak feel now? Because now I'm not signing a long-term deal if I'm him. I'm going to play next season, and then what's our plan with him? Is he going to sign? Is he going to hit free agency? Do we have to trade him if he's not going to sign? Is Bergeron going to come back? Does he like this decision? Does he not like this decision? And then how does Marchand feel if his running mate Bergeron doesn't come back? This Bruce Cassidy may not have been the best, but he brought stability. Now there's instability for Bergeron's situation, Pasternak's situation, and Marchand, maybe how he feels about being around their instability. Travis on the text line. I'm confused by the decision, especially since the Bruins will have a bunch of players coming back from injury. Plus, it could be a team without Bergeron. Virginia and Starksboro, John Tortorella is the guy. There are guys out there. There are coaching candidates out there. We'll see exactly who the Bees want to go for. Retread, veteran, total new age thinker. I have no idea. We'll get some insight on who might be next for the Bruins. We'll talk with Greg Wyshynski, the ESPN NHL insider. He's with us next on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV. The WDEV studio is sponsored by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's largest independent home center, powered by Marvin Doors and Windows. Go to sticksandstuff.com for store locations and hours.
In June's Vermont Biz, we profile several ambitious restaurateurs who forged ahead with their plans during the pandemic. Running a restaurant is risky business with staggering levels of complexity. Add a huge serving of COVID-19 and it quickly becomes daunting. Learn why these savvy entrepreneurs didn't throw in the towel. Vermont Biz also looks at Rutland County. After a prolonged time of upheaval, uncertainty, and staying home, they're ready to embrace the flexible economy. Could this be a silver lining? We also feature a story on Vermont's fast-moving Michael Pichak, the high-profile former commissioner of the state's Department of Financial Regulation, and Governor Phil Scott's data guy during the state's 2-year battle against COVID. Pichak resigned as commissioner on April 30th, saying he wanted to explore other options. Now he's contemplating a run to replace Beth Pierce for state treasurer. And don't miss our special SBA insert featuring small business persons and Small Business of the Year awards. All this and more is in the June issue of Vermont Biz, celebrating 50 years of serious business, serious news. For a subscription, call 802-863-8038 or go to vermontbiz.com.
WDEV is positively thrilled to take part in this year's Central Vermont Humane Society's Walk for the Animals. Join other humans and their furry friends Saturday, June 11th at 9:30 on the State House lawn. From there, we'll parade through Montpelier. Prizes will be awarded for Best Doggy Costume and Best Doggy Trick. Media support for the Walk for the Animals is brought to you in part by Curtis Lumber. There's a Curtis Lumber near you. Find out where at curtislumber.com. Ladder One Grill. Steaks, burgers, brick oven pizzas, calzones, pasta, seafood, and more in downtown Barrie. And VDM Law. Vermont attorneys serving the community since 1977. The Central Vermont Humane Society's Walk for the Animals, Saturday, June 11th at 9:30 on the State House lawn. See you there.
John Batchelor inviting you to join me weeknights at 9 for Eye on the World. This nightly news program is essential listening for those who seek to understand current events, global politics, economics, science, and literature. I'll speak with experts to offer context and insight. Eye on the World, weeknights at 9 on Vermont's news station, WDEV AM and FM, and streaming at WDEVradio.com.
Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Bruins fire Bruce Cassidy. It came as a surprise to me. We're on the phone line now with Greg Wyshynski, the ESPN NHL insider. Greg, I just said it. It was a surprise to me. Bruce Cassidy out. Was it a surprise to you?
Wasn't too much of a curveball. Maybe a knuckle change. Because when Cam Neely comes out and talks about the need for changes systematically for the team and not being happy with how the results have been, when you have the team president saying that, it always kind of perks up your ears. So even though it didn't happen immediately, I thought that there was the opportunity for there to be a change there. And then, when you start to see all of the injuries that piled up this summer and all the surgeries that have happened, and the idea that the Bruins were going to be without Marchand and McAvoy and Grzelcyk and all those guys at the start of the season, it starts to kind of come together that, all right, well, maybe there's a sense of inevitability here where if they're not happy with Cassidy, they might dump him anyway when the team gets off the expected bad start they're going to have.
Back in May, Bruins upper management said the team also wasn't getting the most out of its young players, and the young players were playing fearful. And then we've heard that Cassidy is more of a veterans coach. How much do you think that played a role in this decision?
Oh, I definitely do. And I think, not only for the younger players, but for the older players, you got to remember that, 6 years is a long time, right? Yeah. For a guy to be the head coach, and he's obviously earned that tenure with the amount of success that they've had in the regular season. My goodness, if you take a look at the last few years, the only team that's had a better regular season record than the Bruins has been the Tampa Bay Lightning, which obviously is the team that won back-to-back cups. So you could see why he maybe earned himself the time and earned himself some leeway. But the sense I get in just asking around the last 24 hours is, there may not have been a lot of overall happiness with the progress of some of the young players. There may not have been 100% approval rating from the veteran players on Cassidy's messaging. But I don't think you can discount the fact that I get a sense that maybe there was a bit of a conflict between Cassidy and management insofar as the players they were acquiring for the team or not acquiring for the team, the way that he wanted to play, which was probably with a bit more grit and toughness than the roster that was built. And maybe that all came to a head too.
It is a fascinating situation because, yes, the Bruins need more from younger players and developing players, but they are also an extremely veteran-heavy team with guys who are ready to win and want to win right now, and guys who have big decisions to make. Like, if you're a free agent like Patrice Bergeron or a guy like David Pastrnak who only has 1 year left on his deal, how are you feeling today about the state of the organization?
Not great.
Yeah.
But then again, probably not great overall. Again, the idea that this might be the ultimate canary in a coal mine about the duration of this team's window of success, I think there's something to it. But it's been a slow drip. You think about this team a few years ago with Chara, with Tuukka Rask, with David Krejci, with all these guys that were there during the glory years, and the fact that in one sense those guys weren't really replaced, and then in another sense that maybe you can't replace them. And so if you're taking a critical look at the team, if you're any of the core veterans, I do think you have to ask yourself, all right, is this going to be now a different phase for the Bruins? Will they go with a younger coach? Will they go in a different direction? Are they going to take a step back next year and then hope for some success in the draft lottery? There's a lot of things that you have to kind of consider here for them and the direction of the team.
ESPN NHL insider Greg Wyshynski with us here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Do organizations ever look around at the marketplace and ever react accordingly? What I mean is the Boston Celtics are in the NBA Finals right now. The Boston Celtics very easily could have kept Brad Stevens for several years based on his successful track record, but a new voice comes in Ime Udoka, and the team is in the NBA Finals right now. I'm not saying the Bruins made a decision just because it worked for the Celtics, but do you ever look around and say it has worked for them? It could be time here too.
Well, I think the bigger question is whether they look around at the market as far as the NHL coaching market and say to themselves, if we're going to make a change, let's make it now where there is an absolute glut of options. I mean, last offseason in the NHL, it was all about the goalies. There was like a metric ton of goalies that were available. This time, it's coaches. It is the most robust coaching market I think we've ever seen, with the amount of guys that are big name guys that have recently gotten fired. Barry Trotz, Paul Maurice, Pete DeBoer among them. Guys that have been waiting for their opportunities again. Guys that are in college and juniors. If you're looking for a head coach and you don't like the guy that you've currently got, this is the time to make a move, because it is a absolute bounty of options out there for teams.
Let's switch off the Bruins now, but on the head coaching front, a couple of local ties here I want to ask you about. UVM alum Marty St. Louis gets a 3-year deal with the Montreal Canadiens. They removed the interim tag up there in Montreal. What do you think of Marty and his prospects here as a full-time head coach?
I was shocked it worked out.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that Jeff Gorton, the president of hockey operations for the Canadiens, was keen on maybe trying to hire him for an American Hockey League job with the Rangers. That didn't come through, but then you never heard about him again as a potential candidate for any kind of gig. So when they took him off of was he coaching like a youth team or something?
Like his kids club in Connecticut or something.
Yeah, right. And then made him the head coach of the Canadiens. Say to yourself, what is this? But the one thing about him that we all know, obviously, going even back to his college days, that you can never underestimate the guy. And then the other thing is it's exciting because it shows that you can think outside the box occasionally in this league. You can make a bold decision. And then, sometimes it works out. Again, I think the benefit here was that it was on an interim basis. And then, he kind of proved himself and got great performances out of players like Cole Caulfield. And maybe if it's not an interim coach, they don't get as bold. But it's exciting that, someone was able to do this and be successful with it and hopefully lead the way to more creative thinking from teams.
The guy that he replaced is another UVM guy we have an affinity for, and that's Dom Ducharme, who obviously took the Canadiens to the kind of weird COVID season Stanley Cup Finals. Does he have a future again as a head coach, or is his coaching reputation sullied by this past year?
Yeah, I think it's sullied. I think he was the right guy at the right time for them in the playoffs, and obviously got a heck of a performance out of Carey Price to sort of take them all the way to the final. But then, when adversity hit this year, he didn't really have an answer for it. I think Dom is probably in one of those positions now where he's going to have to take a step back, maybe be an assistant again, with a successful team, build up his reputation, and then maybe take another swing at it. I mean, again, we started off the conversation talking about Bruce Cassidy, and I think that Bruce Cassidy, in a lot of ways, is a real touchstone for any coach that's looking for a job, because I covered Bruce Cassidy when he was in Washington. I never thought that dude was getting another job. It was a disaster for him in his first coaching stint. But it happens so many times with guys where it doesn't work out the first time, and then they come back and it works out again. I mean, Gerard Gallant won, Pete DeBoer won. It's just interesting to see how it could all boomerang back and be successful. It might take a few years, but there's always a chance that Ducharme could be another one of those guys in that list.
Well, sticking with our UVM theme, I'll get you out of here on this. The current head coach of the Catamount men's team is Todd Woodcroft, a guy we have on a lot, a guy we're very close with, longtime NHL assistant. His brother, Jay, has been the interim head coach of Edmonton, and they just unfortunately got swept yesterday by Colorado in the Western Conference Finals. But what are your thoughts on Jay Woodcroft as a head coach, and is he going to get the job, you think, officially in Edmonton?
Yeah, I like the work he did there. I think that they had some real highlights this postseason, and he obviously, was able to kind of give them some defensive structure and calm things down a bit when he took over for Dave Tippett in the regular season. So I had heard before the playoffs that a multi-year extension was in line for Jay. The fact that they made the conference final, even if they lost to a juggernaut, I think only underscores that he'll be sticking around at Edmonton. I'd be surprised at this point if he wasn't the long-term option there. He seems like a good fit. And then plus, they want to have some consistency there. I don't think they want to necessarily have to do this again with Connor and Leon, where they're, having to learn from a new coach for that's the 100th time in their careers in Edmonton. So I'm sure they would like a little bit of consistency. And that being the case, it bolsters Jay's case to stay there.
Well, we certainly hope so. I've adopted the Oilers as my Western Conference team, so I'd like to stick with that as well. So Greg Wyshynski, the ESPN NHL insider, giving us some time and perspective today on Bruce Cassidy, Marty St. Louis, and some other topics around the NHL as well. Game 4 tonight, Eastern Conference Finals. I know you'll be watching. We'll be watching as well. And, Greg, we appreciate it. We'll do it again.
Anytime. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Greg Wyshynski. There you go. For all you people who say we don't talk enough hockey, that was 30 minutes hockey non-stop. 30 minutes hockey non-stop. Just for you. I want to wrap up a couple things real quick that Greg said as we get into the second hour of the show. Brady Farkas Show. We'll be back after the CBS National News Update here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Yeah, seriously, more hockey. It's coming up next.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top of Sugarbush, 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield, 96.5 W243 Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury Montpelier, streaming at WDEVradio.com. 90 years of serving Vermont, the friendly pioneer, WDEV.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Monica Ricks in New York. Actor Matthew McConaughey got emotional while talking about the school massacre in his hometown of Uvalde, Texas today after meeting with congressional lawmakers about gun reform. CBS's Stephen Portnoy reports.
Uvalde-born actor Matthew McConaughey, himself a gun owner, spoke from the briefing room about the week he just spent in his hometown.
And you know what they all said? We want secure and safe schools, and we want gun laws that won't make it so easy for the bad guys to get these damn guns.
McConaughey called for the purchasing age of semi-automatic weapons to be raised to 21 and for the passage of a national red flag law to have guns removed from those deemed to be a threat.
Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the Senate's working on it, but it'll take compromise.
The mounting tragedies and mass shootings we see almost on a daily basis may move some Republicans.
The Uvalde City Council held a special session today, 2 weeks after the school massacre. Mayor Don McLaughlin says he wants the Justice Department to review conflicting info from the state.
We were told one thing one day, and the next day the narrative changed. You were told for a week that a teacher propped the door open with a rock, and at the end of the week, that story was gone too. That's the missteps I'm talking about.
Meantime, the feds are keeping a close eye on social media for possible copycat attacks. Dr. Robert Pape is with the Chicago Project.
We have volatile capabilities, those are the weapons, now combined with volatile ideas and beliefs in the mainstream. It's a deadly cocktail that promises more violence going forward.
7 states are holding primary races today. In California, Karen Bass and Rick Caruso are getting high-profile support in their runs for L.A. mayor. Here's CBS's Ed O'Keefe.
If Bass wins, she'd be the first woman to run L.A. and the second ever black mayor.
Why is she going to make a good mayor?
Because she knows the community.
Rick Caruso is my choice.
Famous faces are weighing in.
Kim
Kardashian and Gwyneth Paltrow are with Caruso. Movie mogul Jeffrey Katzenberg is backing Bass.
Primaries are also being held in Iowa, Mississippi, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, and South Dakota. The FDA has authorized a new COVID vaccine from drug maker Novavax. Dr. Philip Dubovsky is with the company.
Our vaccine achieved 90% efficacy in our phase 3 study in the U.S. and Mexico
despite the majority of cases being attributed to variants.
It still needs approval from the CDC. Another day, another gas price hike.
Looking at gas right now, it's whew.
AAA says the nationwide average is now $4.92 a gallon, creeping closer to $5. This is CBS News.
There's always something new under the sun. CBS Mornings, weekdays on CBS.
Folks, Ian and Pat Keene here at Lamoille Valley Chevy. We want you to know that now's the time to order for less at Lamoille Valley Chevy. Tell them, Pat. Thanks, bro. Folks, at Lamoille Valley Chevy, business is really strong, and we're retail ordering new vehicles for less. Right now, Chevrolet is going through model year changeovers, and we are still accepting orders for the entire lineup of Chevy car, trucks, and SUVs. Not only will our customers be at the front of the line when the new models roll out, but they will be paying less at Lamoille Valley Chevy, too. And here's why. Right now, when you order your new Chevy from Lamoille Valley, we will take an additional $1,000 off MSRP, and that is on top of factory incentives and huge trade allowances. And speaking of trades, as always, our lot at Lamoille Valley Chevy is packed right now with clean, late-model pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. We are making deals to sell them down. And shoppers, if you need a vehicle today, we just had 3 truckloads of new Chevy trucks and SUVs arrive this week. So come on down before they're gone. You heard, Pat. Order for less and save money today at Lamoille Valley Chevy, located just past Stowe and Morrisville in the beautiful town of Hyde Park, Vermont.
Hi, my name is Jeff Gould. I live in Barrie, Vermont, and run J. Gould Plumbing and Heating. I'm here to talk to you about Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice, an organization that is very dear to me and my sister Elizabeth's heart. CVHHH's hospice team cared for my mother, Barbara Gould, a nurse who worked for 50 years in this community at the end of her life. CVHHH's hospice nurses embraced me, my mom, and my family with warmth and kindness that helped us through a very painful time. They explained what to expect as Mom declined and were always available to answer our questions. Mom received the same high-quality care that she valued and provided as a nurse. Elizabeth and I are forever grateful. So please join Elizabeth and I and donate to Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice's Spring Appeal. Your gift ensures families like ours can access the loving care and one-on-one support in the comfort of home and at a time when it matters the most. Please donate at cvhhh.org. Thank you.
Make your opinion heard by texting onto the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Plenty to get to here in the 6 o'clock hour, including the Patriots on the field at mandatory minicamp. Red Sox, Michael Wacha get the complete game shutout yesterday. I want to wrap up our NHL conversation, though. I want to thank Greg Wyshynski, the ESPN NHL insider, for joining us there in that last segment. His full interview is already up online on our podcast channel on the Apple Podcasts and Spotify apps. Just go search for the Brady Farkas Show. Lou says on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, my jaw dropped when I heard the NHL on your show. That's what we do, Lou. We're just here. We're here to surprise, entertain, and inform. You never know what you're going to get on the Brady Farkas Show. Really good stuff from Greg Wyshynski. It's just always so solid whenever we have him on. But so he says it was not surprising to him that Bruce Cassidy was fired. Now, again, it was surprising to me. Now, like, I make no bones about it. I don't follow hockey as close as Greg Wyshynski does. So if he's heard rumblings about unhappiness or he knows things behind the scenes, I don't doubt that he knows things that I don't know. But it was surprising to me given all the success the Bruins have had under Cassidy. But Greg is right when he presents the argument that there is a dearth of head coaching candidates available out there, and there are quality names out there, right? Paul Maurice, Barry Trotz. There are a lot of guys out there. It's interesting to note, though, that Greg does agree with me. Also, if you are a veteran player, you probably don't feel great about things right now. I thought that was poignant. When he says if you're a veteran player, you probably don't feel great right now, that resonated with me. Look, maybe the Bruins veterans are happy that Bruce Cassidy is gone. That very well might be possible. But that said, you're also introducing chaos, right? The devil you know is better than the devil you don't. That's a famous quote, and a lot of people believe it, right? You know what you're getting with Bruce Cassidy, and maybe he's not the best, maybe he's not your favorite, but you know what he is. You know how to play with him. You know what he expects. You don't necessarily know a new head coach. So I thought that was interesting. And I have to say this. I am surprised that today I am reading that one of the biggest knocks on Bruce Cassidy is his inability to connect with young players and his inability to develop young players. That is really surprising to me because Bruce Cassidy spent a decade in developmental hockey. Before he was the head coach of the Bruins, Bruce Cassidy was with the Providence Bruins for 8 years, and he was in junior hockey for 2 years before that. 10 years. Bruce Cassidy was in developmental hockey. If you are going to be in developmental hockey, you have to be able to develop. You have to have a certain disposition. Whoa! You have to have a certain disposition. You have to have a certain ability to teach, and you have to be able to help young people grow. So it shocks me that he didn't. It shocks me that Bruce Cassidy apparently never had that or at some point lost that. Because every person I've ever spoken to that was ever involved with any kind of minor league sport have all said the same thing. The winning is secondary. The development is primary. If you're going to be a single A baseball coach, or you're going to be a G League basketball coach, or you're going to coach in the USFL or in arena football, you have to have the ability to develop talent, to work with young people, to help people grow, to help people teach, to help be a mentor. That is a quality that really is a prerequisite for the job, right? The NFL is for winning. The preseason, regular season NFL is for winning. Preseason is for coaching and development. The NBA is for winning. The G League is for development. Major League Baseball is for winning. AAA, AA, single A, that's for development. Bruce Cassidy was in spots where you had to be able to develop and had to be able to connect. What happened to that? He did it for a decade. He couldn't have been horrible at it previously. Why did he get horrible at it now all of a sudden? That's one question that I'd like to know. Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. Ralph says, thank you for not talking about Deshaun Watson today. Every other show did. The Deshaun Watson stuff is gross. I mean, I'm not going to talk about it. Not because I'm purposely avoiding it, because generally I like to stick to what is a regional show. And Deshaun Watson does not play for the Patriots, nor does he play in the Patriots division. I like to do a regional show. I think our audience has shown us that they like when we talk about things happening in our area with our teams. And Deshaun Watson is not in that neighborhood. Now, the Patriots play the Browns this year. If Deshaun Watson is on the field or off the field, I'm sure that he will come up at some point before week 6 or whatever when that matchup is. But right now, Deshaun Watson is not a talking point in New England as far as I'm concerned. And nobody has asked us to talk about Deshaun Watson, so that is also part of the reason why we haven't. The stories are out there. I read the New York Times story today. It's not good. It's not good for the NFL. It's not good for the Browns. It's not good for Watson. And it's not good for obviously the alleged victims of sexual assault or sexual misconduct that have come, as a result of interaction with Deshaun Watson. So certainly not a good story. If you want to go see it, you can go certainly find it on your own. Oh, here we go. Also on the text line, Thomas in Richmond. Brady, how did you play in your men's league basketball game last night? I thought you said it was going to be your first one in a while. I played better than anticipated, but I got to tell you, the court seemed a lot longer than I remember it. It's been 2 years since I played basketball because of COVID. everything was shut down in 2020. I got this new job in 2021. The place I used to go and play, I couldn't make the games anymore. It was just pickup, but it wasn't a league. But I couldn't play anywhere. So all I've done in the last 2 years is shoot like maybe 10 times or less. So I've joined a league now, and yesterday was our first day. It wasn't a game. Yesterday was kind of like a preseason evaluation. Like all the new guys in the league got together and played so we could figure out what team we were going to be on when the season starts next week. I played better than anticipated, but the court seems longer than I remember. We played 3 games to 11, nothing crazy in terms of length of game. It wasn't the most up and down game ever. It was kind of your typical if you played at the Y, right? Like a handful of guys go really hard when they've got the ball. Other guys kind of float around the perimeter. This was not what I think the league is going to be like. Not what I played yesterday was not indicative of what's going to happen next week. But I think I did play well. I shot reasonably well. I hit 4 threes in game 1. I'm not keeping stats in men's league pickup, but I know I hit 4 threes in game 1. Missed some shots also, but I think I made a good enough impression. Definitely was tired, even with kind of loafing 3-point line to 3-point line. I'm nervous about next week because next week there's going to be real movement and people are going to be really getting after it. So, yeah, I'm a little nervous. But all in all, I had fun, played better than I was anticipating, and good to be back out there again. All right. It is that's enough about my basketball exhibition yesterday. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Patriots were on the field today in Foxborough at mandatory minicamp. A couple of news and notes on that. One, Kendrick Bourne wasn't there. Nick Folk wasn't there. They had excused absences. A bunch of players were limited, like James White. It's mandatory minicamp. A couple of players weren't there, excused absences. A bunch of other players coming off injury were limited, but they were there. We did get a few other takeaways as also. Number one, the Patriots are working on, quote, streamlining the offense. I think that's very important, actually. We have heard for years that the Patriots offense is extremely complicated, and we've heard stories over the past of Chad Ochocinco not being able to learn it. Nelson Aguilar talked last year about its challenges. I think streamlining the offense is a very smart move. It's not changing the offense. It's not changing all your foundational ideas. It's not bringing in an entirely new playbook. But making the process as easy to understand as possible is important, and this is a good time for it. Josh McDaniels and Tom Brady had been together for more than a decade. They could speak in their own language to each other. They could speak in their own language together, and it's very difficult for others to grasp that language that they were speaking. Well, now, with McDaniels gone and Brady gone, this is a chance to kind of get back to basics with your terminology, basics in terms of making things easier to understand. I think that's good. Bill Belichick did not say it's a new offense. He just said that they are streamlining the process, and I think that is a big thing here. You're going to have new offensive coaches, right? Joe, for whether we like it or not, Joe Judge and Matt Patricia are there. They don't speak the Brady McDaniels language. You've got new players there, younger players there. They don't speak the Brady McDaniels language. I think that this is a good thing. I don't have the quote in front of me here, but I remember Doug Flutie telling me when I was doing the podcast with him a handful of years ago, just about Brady and McDaniels and how robust their comfort was with each other. Because we were talking a lot about Cam Newton and how things weren't going well for Cam. And he said, look, it's really hard because Brady and McDaniels were on their own planet with each other, and Cam couldn't get on that planet. Well, now nobody can get on that planet. So I think streamlining it is certainly a good thing. Speaking of Cam had some very interesting comments today. We're going to talk about him tomorrow, but Cam had some interesting comments about his time in New England. Number two here on the Patriots takeaways that we got here from mandatory minicamp today. Ramondre Stevenson, Patriots running back, he said he was working on becoming a better pass catcher, and he wants to be able to play on third down more. I think that also is a very positive development for the Patriots. I think Ramondre Stevenson is awesome. I loved watching Ramondre Stevenson play last year. I think he runs hard. I think he's physical. I think he's got a good burst. The one thing that he didn't do last year was really catch the ball. I think he had just 14 catches. So I believe totally in having multiple running backs, and I believe in divvying up the touches among those backs. I don't think it's smart to rely on one back. Like, look at what happened to Carolina, right? They rely on McCaffrey. He's hurt. They're done. Giants rely on Saquon. He's hurt. They're done. I don't think a team should rely on one running back, but I do like all the running backs I have to be diverse in their skill set. Remember a couple of years ago when the Patriots would have Sony Michel on the field, you knew it was a run, right? If Sony Michel's on the field, it's a run. He's not catching it out of the backfield. When James White's on the field, it's a pass. He's probably not running it out of the backfield. I want Ramondre Stevenson to be a guy who can do everything. Doesn't mean I need him to have 40 touches a game. You can play other guys. But if Stevenson is out there and he gives the defense an element of what exactly is going to happen here, that is a good thing for the Patriots, right? I want to get away from predictability. A couple of years ago, Sony Michel's on the field, it's predictable, it's a run. Or at least he's not a pass-catching threat. When James White's on the field, it's probably a pass. He's not really a run threat. If Stevenson can learn how to do everything, I think that is absolutely going to be beneficial as far as the Patriots go. Again, does not need 40 touches. Does not need 40 touches. But if he can run it, if he can pass, if he can catch it, he can be a threat in multiple ways. I love watching Ramondre Stevenson.
Stevenson with a great run to the outside. Still on the go. Ramondre Stevenson trying to go wire to wire. Second touchdown for the rookie. And Ramondre Stevenson took it 91 yards with his second touchdown run of the evening.
That was in the preseason. Stevenson only had 14 catches. He had one very big one, though, this season. This was, from November 7th.
Jones with time. Now flips it outside. That's complete. That's going to get a first down and more. This is Stevenson. Stevenson cutting it back. Penalty markers 5 behind him.
I don't remember who that was against. Oh, that was against Carolina. That somewhere around week 9 or so. So if Stevenson can get kind of the whole toolbox, all the tools in his toolbox, better for the Patriots. And by the way, I think Damian Harris is gone after this year. I don't think the Pats are going to pay him. James White might be done after this year. Like, if Stevenson is a guy, like, he can grow here in New England. So this idea of him being able to do everything well, yeah, I think that is a good thing. On ESPN right now, multiple people are suggesting the Patriots will not make the playoffs. I'd like to rip them, but I can't, because I said the Patriots won't make the playoffs either. So, maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. But right now, here's what's going on at Patriots mandatory minicamp. The last kind of takeaway, Isaiah Wynn today worked at right tackle. Trent Brown worked at left tackle. The offensive line is an interesting spot to watch on this roster. You've got Brown, David Andrews, Justin Herron, Cole Strange, Michael Wainu. You have guys there on the offensive line. You have bodies. I'm not in favor of ditching offensive linemen because it's such a valuable spot. But if the team is healthy and if the young guys are responding well, there is a chance, I think, that Isaiah Wynn could get traded. He's in the final year of his contract. He certainly had injury concerns. I don't know how big a reality a trade possibility is, but it certainly is possible. As we move through, into training camp, I have at least seen the thought that Wynn could get traded, right? They could play Herron at a tackle spot. They could play Brown at a tackle spot, Strange, Andrews, Uwainu. Like, they got 5 guys, so they don't need Isaiah Wynn. But again, I'm not in favor of just ditching offensive linemen because I know how volatile that position can be and how important it is. Couple of other texts on the text line. As always, the Patriots keep you guessing. Yes, they do. And then a text about Alex Cora. We're going to get to the Red Sox here in about 10 minutes, so I'll save any thoughts on Alex Cora for that. But, all right, let's get to who's saying what, because I think this was really interesting, too.
Whoa. What did he say?
Mac Jones? Good Lord. Mel Kiper's got to slow down on this. Mac Jones ain't going to work, folks. It's not going to work. He's got to come to terms with it. It's not going to work.
They really said that?
Every damn thing is politics and race, and I'm losing my mind over it.
It's time for Who's Saying What on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Who's Saying What is brought to you by Vermont Laser Wash. That's Central Vermont's home of unlimited car washes. It begins at just $20 a month. If you want one free car wash, all you need to do is text the word Vermont to the number 30 and then 400. I got to say, we're going to do a lot of NBA Finals stuff tomorrow, obviously, because Game 3 is tomorrow. But I got to say, there has been an element of the NBA Finals that is being talked a lot about today that I have to admit, I haven't really done a lot of thinking on, and I think it's very interesting. A lot of the talk from Game 2 is centered around Draymond Green, right? It's centered around Draymond Green and whether or not he should have been ejected for his interaction with Jaylen Brown, right? Draymond already had a technical. He and Brown get tangled up. The thought was, should Draymond have gotten the second technical and got ejected? He didn't. I think it's pretty remarkable that I walk in today and there's 3 people saying one thought that I had never given a thought to. C.J. McCollum, who's now kind of involved in the media, but he's a guard for the New Orleans Pelicans, he said this about that whole interaction between Draymond and Brown.
You let Jaylen Brown get the technical or Grant Williams comes into the game. And when you're having those altercations with the pushing, you escalate a little bit more, understanding that you can get technical. You're eliminating the heart and soul of the Warrior team. Obviously,
what McCollum is saying is that, so usually, right, when people get into a fracas, somebody comes in and tries to separate them, right? Cooler heads need to prevail. What McCollum is saying is, no. The Celtics should have dove in to those waters because Jaylen Brown doesn't have a technical yet. Grant Williams doesn't have a technical yet. You let those guys go in, escalate, push the tempo on Draymond. And if he retaliates and he gets the second, then he's gone where you only have the one. I had not thought about this, and it's actually really smart. And the Celtics should be willing to do that. If Draymond Green gets an early technical, then we know it's going to take a lot to get him ejected, right? Refs don't want to decide the games. Refs want players to play in the games. So they're going to want to leave Draymond out there as long as possible. But if he's already got the one, and you can bait him into something egregious to the point where the refs have to toss him, you can play that game. I had not thought about that at all until I heard everybody saying it. I heard Antoine Walker say it. I heard McCollum say it. I heard Brian Windhorst of ESPN say it today.
Well, the thing about it is that I think Jason Tatum's got to do some film study here. You got 2 of the most cerebral players I've ever covered sitting on the set with you. Jason Tatum has got to let Jaylen Brown go here. Let Jaylen Brown get the double technical. Do not pull him away. He's making an instinct to protect his teammate. You got to realize that Draymond has a tech. And the thing about the NBA, this isn't a published rule. Guys like Draymond Green, Luka Doncic, Rasheed Wallace back in his day, the threshold for them getting their first technical is very low. The referees almost come out halfway to a tech on those players. But the threshold for their second technical is very high, and it is extraordinarily high in a playoff setting.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. I had not thought about it. I like to come in here with this show planned from every angle. That's one I hadn't thought about until this morning. If Draymond Green gets an early tee, then yeah, somebody for the Celtics should be willing to engage him. Push that limit, push his buttons, see if he'll snap. You can't afford to get ejected. So you can't get an early tee yourself. But if you can get him one, then you might be able to drive him and bait him into number 2. And I really liked what Ime Udoka said today. Ime Udoka said, like, just be who you are. If you are a guy who can't swim in those waters, then don't. If you are a mild-mannered player who doesn't want to rough it up like that, then don't. Don't do something that you can't do or you're not comfortable doing. But if you are a player that can live in that space where things are a little bit hairy and they're a little bit in the gray area, and you're not afraid to match wits with Draymond Green, then do it. I think that Daniel Tice could be a guy who could do that. Now, Tice hasn't played a lot in this series, but when he's in there, if he's in there, I think he's a guy who would not be afraid to give Draymond Green the business. Al Horford could probably do it to a degree. I don't think Big Al likes to live in that space. Robert Williams is pretty quiet. I don't think he wants to live in that space. Tatum, Brown, I don't think they want to live in that space. Marcus Smart could live in that space. Marcus Smart, Daniel Tice, Grant Williams, those are probably the three. But it's an interesting angle that I hadn't given a whole lot of thought to. So we're all thinking, oh, get them away from each other, get them away from each other, get them away from each other, let cooler heads prevail. Not necessarily. Be willing to go into the muck to try to get Draymond out of the game. If he gets an early tee, you might be able to get him the second one as well. It's the Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Red Sox beat the Angels yesterday, 1-0 shutout from Michael Wacha. I think a lot of you, even me, a little bit, need to apologize to Chaim Bloom. I'll tell you why. That's next on DEV.
My name is Joshua White, Chief Medical Officer here at Gifford. The services that we offer range from pediatrics, where you can come to get your vaccinations, to routine care of chronic illness with high blood pressure and diabetes, to women's health and all the associated individualized needs that patients may come to us with.
Gifford's primary care team is welcoming new patients in Randolph, Bethel, Berlin, Chelsea, and Rochester. To find a provider near you, visit giffordhealthcare.org.
How well does your garden grow? Tune in Saturdays at 12:30 for In the Garden with Peter Burke. Peter and co-host Joel Nashman give you 1 full hour of the latest news, helpful tips, and your calls to talk about what's happening in your garden. It's brought to you in part by Menard's family-owned True Value Store, Brooklyn Street, Morrisville. In the Garden with Peter Burke, live Saturdays at 12:30. Hear the podcast anytime at WDEVradio.com.
It's Macy's Friends and Family with an extra 30% off special gifts from top designers just in time for Father's Day when you use your coupon or Macy's card. And take 15% off fragrances, skincare, and more great gift ideas now at Macy's. Plus, Macy's Star Rewards members earn on every purchase except gift cards, services, and fees. Sign up today at Macy's.com/Star Rewards. Savings off regular, sale, and clearance prices. Exclusions apply.
Something you probably do know. Progressive can not only offer you a great price when you bundle home and auto, they offer you round-the-clock protection. Something you probably don't know? A driveway basketball hoop, including the base, weighs around 400 pounds. Something you probably do know? There's a windstorm coming. Something you probably don't know? A basketball hoop tipping over can poke a hole in a car roof like a can opener. Bundle your home and auto with Progressive and get more than a great price. Get round-the-clock protection. Something you know for the things you don't know. Coverage from Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers, and subject to policy terms. Bundle discount not available in all states or situations.
Each year, millions of people fall for dangerous fad diets and bogus weight loss products. Here's how to separate facts from fad. This is registered dietitian Melissa Joy Dobbins for the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics with your Eating Right Minute. Fad diets give lots of promises and few results. Some are even dangerous. Remember these warning signs. A guarantee of rapid weight loss is a red flag. For long-term success, aim to lose about 1 pound per week. Never follow a diet that bans an entire food group or one that allows you to only eat from one group. Finally, there is no proof that eating specific foods at certain times of the day will help with weight loss. To create an eating plan just for you, see a registered dietitian and visit www.eatright.org. Encouraging you to eat right, I'm registered dietitian Melissa Joy Dobbins with the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Show brought to you in part by Pro Driver Training. That's Pro Driver Training, Vermont's premier truck driver training school, online at ProDriverCDL.com. They can help you with your Class A CDL, your Class B CDL, passenger, and advanced skills training. I need to apologize to Chaim Bloom, the chief baseball officer of the Red Sox, and I know a lot of you need to be apologizing even more to him. At the beginning of the year, I rolled my eyes at the signing of Michael Wacha. I thought the signing of Michael Wacha and the signing of Rich Hill were both not great signings. Last year, the Red Sox had Martin Perez and Garrett Richards. I thought that this was very much similar to those signings, kind of low ceiling, low floor deals. I questioned how the Red Sox were handling the pitching staff as a whole, and I need to apologize to Chaim Bloom for that. Rich Hill, well, he's got a 4.4 ERA. He's given quality innings. He's really got perfectly acceptable numbers for a back-end starter. And after Wacha's last night's complete game shutout, he's now 4-1 with a 1.99 ERA. I mean, at this particular moment in time, Michael Wacha is bordering on being an all-star in the American League, and what he did last night was completely mesmerizing. We owe Chaim Bloom an apology. He knew what he was doing with the pitching staff better than we did. I questioned Hill. I questioned Wacha. Both of them have done exactly what they should do or more than that. In Wacha's case, much more. And Hill, look, as a fifth starter, he's given you pretty good productivity for a fifth starter. But last night, Wacha was awesome.
Michael Wacha ready. Here's the pitch. And he swings and grounds it right side. Story has it in shallow right. Throws to first. And Michael Wacha has shut off the Angels 1-0. The Red Sox first complete game shutout of the season. Their third complete game, which is triple anybody else.
You know, that's a complete game shutout for Wacha. He hadn't pitched into the eighth inning, I think, since 2019, they said on the broadcast on Nesson. That's a complete game shutout against a team that has Trout and Ohtani. I understand an 11-game losing streak coming in for the Angels, but still, Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani are on that team. It was on the road. He got the complete game shutout in barely 100 pitches. He threw strikes. He worked fast. He pitched to contact. Last night was just a beautiful outing. And offense has ticked up quite a bit around the league over the last couple of weeks. So as offense goes back up, it was nice to see a dominant performance on the mound. This is all I really want out of baseball. I want to go to a baseball game and know that anything can happen. I don't want to go to a game and know that the same thing's going to happen every night. From April 7th when the season started until May 20th, all we saw were low-scoring games where no one can hit. Though a 1-0 shutout on April 15th would have frustrated me. It would not have excited me. But now, as offense goes up and more games are 8-7 and 7-6 and 9-5, a 1-0 game excites me again. I want to go to the game and know that anything can happen, but not that I'm going to see the same story every night. Right? I mean, I want to go to a game and know I could see 4-3, I could see 8-6, I could see 12-11, I could see 1-0. I want a full range of outcomes. That is exciting baseball. And because we're starting to get that, what Michael Wacha did last night was really, really special. It was great. For questioning Wacha, I owe Chaim Bloom an apology. And all of you out there definitely owe Chaim Bloom an apology, because I've been a Chaim Bloom defender most of the way. I ripped the Hill and Wacha moves, but I've defended a lot of what Bloom has done the rest of the way. A lot of you have been hard on him from the beginning. Just maybe give this guy some credit. He's been trying to thread a very thin needle between competing and building, and I think he's done a pretty darn good job at it. And yes, an individual game failure or bullpen meltdown will always make us emotional, but we all need to acknowledge that he has done some great things since getting to the Red Sox. I mean, let's just go down the list. He acquired Nick Pivetta. Nick Pivetta, good in the playoffs, great in the playoffs. He's been great for the last month. He's young. He's inexpensive. He's controllable for several years. Getting Nick Pivetta in a trade was a great move from Chaim Bloom. Waka and Hill, they're an improvement over Perez and Richards. Chaim Bloom knew that, saw that, and made it happen. Give him credit. He's found guys from under the couch covers, guys that no one would have ever thought would amount to anything. Whitlock, Christian Arroyo, Kevin Plawecki, they've all become useful big league players. Austin Davis, a guy that didn't look like a sexy pickup last year, has become a really good bullpen arm for them who's from the left side throwing 94, 95 miles an hour. Robles, maybe a little less good this year, but he's certainly had moments. I don't think he's been a bad acquisition. Ottavino last year was pretty good. Renfroe last year was great. Kike has been very good. Even in year 2 now, Franchi Cordero has shown that he can be useful. Chaim Bloom has done all of that for the big league team while also fortifying the minor league system. I think Chaim Bloom has done a really, really good job. And while maybe I got tough on Bloom when the bullpen was really going bad, I needed to step back and remember why I like this guy so much. And it's for all the guys that I just said. He has found a lot. He has brought a lot. Remember, the Franchi Cordero move was not about Franchi Cordero. It was about getting Josh Winkowski and the other guys in the minors. Cordero being good was a bonus, and now Cordero's been pretty good. The JBJ move is not really about JBJ. It's been about the guys, Benelis and the other couple of minor leaguers they got. That move is really about them. Anything JBJ gives you is a bonus. You know what? He's had some games where he's given you a lot. JBJ, Renfroe, I mean, a lot of these moves, they have worked out in a way that has helped the team. People need to give Chaim Bloom some credit. Now, the next phase of all this is how does Chaim Bloom handle the Devers and Bogart situations? That will help us judge him and his work further. But right now, I think Chaim Bloom has done an excellent job with the organization. He was dealt a rough hand here when he got here, and do not forget that. Chaim Bloom comes here, and Alex Cora has to get fired. He has to lose his job because of MLB suspension. The organization gives him a money edict, and he has to trade Mookie Betts. Then he gets then the pandemic happens right away, and we only get 60 games. It's a tough hand for Chaim Bloom to be dealt, and he's handled it pretty darn well, and he continues to handle it pretty darn well. It's going to get tougher with the Bogarts and Devers stuff. And we haven't even mentioned Trevor Story, who, again, he's underwhelmed overall, but he certainly had a 2-week period where he carried your offense. I mean, part of the reason you are back in this race at all is because of what Trevor Story did in that series against Houston and Seattle. When you go and win 6 of 7 against those teams, that's part of the reason you're in this spot now where you're 1 game over 500. So Chaim Bloom deserves more credit than people want to give him. Text on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. Yes, you are correct on Chaim Bloom, Brady. Thank you. That comes from an unnamed texter. I appreciate that. Speaking of the Bogarts stuff, real quick, did you hear what Bogarts' agent, Scott Boras, had to say today? Basically, Boras made it known that the Red Sox are going to have to pay up if they want to keep his client. Now, I still think that is agent speak. I still think that Bogarts could very easily go to Boras and say, hey, let's just get this done. I want to stay here. I think Boras is saying all the things he has to say as an agent publicly, but I do think his comments were at least notable today. Again, predictable, expected, but notable. Boras says there's no question that Bogaerts took a discount by the standards of what the market is for premium shortstops, and he's one of them, a.k.a. he took a discount the first time, he's not taking one again. That's what that means. And then 2, Bogaerts wanted the opt-out this fall because the idea was Xander came to me and wanted to build a very rock-solid foundation for his free agency. That's exactly what he's done. I don't think there's any question now where Bogaerts belongs in this shortstop dynasty of Major League Baseball. AKA also, he had a plan. He wanted to set himself up to get really, really rich in free agency. That's what he's done. So Boris is telling you it's going to cost a lot to keep Bogaerts. That's what he's trying to do here. Again, I believe that Xander could go to Boris tomorrow and say, I want to be here, get the deal done. But publicly, Boris has to take the side of like, hey, my client is in every position possible here to get absolutely loaded this offseason. He wanted to set himself up for free agency. He did it. He took a discount before. He doesn't need to now. That's what he has to say as his agent. Xander can go and kind of override some things as far as I'm concerned. Lou Merlone, former Red Sox infielder and WEEI radio host, he had this to say about the Red Sox right now.
Well, I mean, right now they're a playoff team. Are they a threat? No, not as constituted, because it's still a bullpen issue, and we all know once you get into the playoffs, you're playing better teams. There are tighter ball games. You tell me right now, you get in a series right now and it's tight and late in the 7th inning. You feel good about that? I know I don't.
I agree with everything Lou just said right there. I think that the Red Sox are potentially a playoff team. They're certainly in the conversation. I don't believe that the bullpen in the playoffs as it's presently constructed would be really reliable, but I don't think this is going to be the bullpen. I think the Red Sox are absolutely going to make a move. They'll probably make multiple moves. Last year they went and got Davis. They went and got Robles. They went and got maybe it was just Davis and Robles. But nonetheless, the Red Sox are going to make moves this year, right? Look at the moves that can be made. Sale can come back to the rotation, and they could put Whitlock back in the bullpen if they want. That would strengthen the bullpen. That's a move, just an internal move. They could get James Paxton back and put him in the bullpen. That's an internal move. They've got these young pitchers down in the minors. They could go to the bullpen, and now all of a sudden you've got some better arms down there coming up from your minor league system. Those are all possible moves. And then teams are going to fall out of this thing, right? Pittsburgh, David Bednar is a phenomenal reliever that you've never heard of. Pittsburgh could sell. Cleveland, Oakland, Detroit, Kansas City. They're all teams that could sell, and they all could have arms available. There will be moves to be made, some internal, some external, but Chaim Bloom, I know, is going to uncover every rock to try and go and do this. The Red Sox bullpen today will not be their bullpen in July, by the end of July. They are right now, I believe, in a playoff spot as we stand. They're one game over 500. They've won 5 in a row. They are in the playoff conversation. As long as they remain there, which at this point now I think that they will, they are going to augment that bullpen in a big way. So, yeah, today's bullpen couldn't win you a playoff series. Today's bullpen isn't going to be a playoff bullpen. There will be moves to be made, and there are things that you can do internally to help augment that entire pitching staff. Hey, cool news here. I mentioned David Bednar, the reliever for the Pirates. Well, speaking of the Pirates, U32 product, Montpelier native, Owen Kellington, made his professional debut today. Did any of you see that? Owen Kellington playing for the Florida Complex League Pirates, low-level minors ball. Their season actually just started a couple of days ago. Kellington made his debut, 2 innings, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Do not get wrapped up in numbers at all from the Florida Complex League Pirates. And just notice this. It's going to be very, very fun to be covering Owen Kellington's career. We'll be following it. We'll report when he gets in games. We'll wish him well. I will never forget the day he was drafted. I'll never forget that we got the scout who discovered him, Eddie Charles, on the show for the Pirates. Eddie Charles, my former teammate at Oswego State, is the guy who lobbied for drafting Owen Kellington last year, and we got him on the show, I believe, the day that he was drafted. Pretty incredible. And Owen Kellington today makes his professional baseball debut. Last year at this time, he was pitching for U32. Now he's playing professional affiliated baseball for the Pittsburgh Pirates. 2 innings, 2 runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Good swing and miss stuff right there, right? And at that level of minor league baseball, we're talking like low A ball here. I'm not looking for him to go out always and have an ERA of 0. I'd like to show that he's got some traits that could play at the big league level. And 3 strikeouts and 2 innings for a kid who's 19 years old, that's some swing and miss stuff. And that's all you can ask for. That's pretty good stuff right there. Owen Kellington, congratulations on his professional debut. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Someone says, Brady, thanks for this awesome news. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Again, this season's going to go for a while now. Owen Kellington will make more appearances. We will try to be on top of as many as we can. It came across my social media feed today that he was getting in the game. I knew that the season was starting. It started last week, maybe on Friday. So this is the first game that Kellington's gotten into. They've got bigger rosters in the Florida Complex League because obviously guys are not going to, he's not going to go out and throw 9 innings in the Florida Complex League. It's going to be a lot of shorter outings for guys across this league. But, I got to imagine he will get into plenty more games this year, and we will keep you posted. But very, very cool. Flash some swing and miss stuff. So, look, low 90s, good curveball, pretty developed pitch repertoire. I mean, do we have the audio, guys, of Eddie Charles, the Pirate scout from last year? We do, don't we? Yeah, here we go. Let's see. Eddie Charles, the audio on... Yeah, here you go. Here's Eddie Charles last year, the Pirates scout, July 14th, talking to us about Kellington.
We feel like, looking into the future, that he has stuff that we can help mold to be a starting pitcher, hopefully someday in the big leagues. He's got a fastball that's been up to 93 miles an hour already, so he's a hard thrower. But other than that, he also has secondary pitches that have some now quality. He can really spin his breaking pitches. He's got feel for a changeup already at a young age, so he can do some things impressively for us that stand out both to the eye when you watch him, and also in some of the modern, metrics tracking that we have in terms of spin rates and those sort of things.
So that's what Eddie Charles, the Pirate scout, told us last July 14th, and here we are 11 months later, Owen Kellington on a professional mound. When we come back, we'll finish out the show. Patriots minicamp day 2 is tomorrow. What are some of the things we want answered about the Patriots this week? That's next on DEV.
At Union Bank, we've been traveling the back roads and main routes of Vermont and New Hampshire for generations. So when it comes to mortgages, we know the local landscape and the best way to get you home. Union Bank, stay local, go far. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
This is David Goodman. Join me every Wednesday at 1 o'clock for the Vermont Conversation, brought to you by VTDigger.org, Vermont's nonprofit news source. I'll talk with national and local change makers from the worlds of politics, social and racial justice, science, education, and the environment who are having an impact on our daily lives. You can also hear the Vermont Conversation at VTDigger.org or sign up for our podcast. Join me and take part in the Vermont Conversation Wednesdays at 1 here on WDEV.
At Lamoille Valley Ford, we sell more than just brand new vehicles. Right, kid?
Thanks, Dan. Folks, at Lamoille Valley Ford, we have over 100 pre-owned vehicles available, including the largest inventory of certified pre-owned Fords in the state. CPOs give you peace of mind after going through a 172-point safety inspection. We include a 100,000-mile warranty, which is actually better than a brand new car. Also, qualified buyers can get as low as 2.9% financing. At Lamoille Valley Ford, you won't just find Fords. We stock Subarus, Hondas, and Toyotas, many of which are hand-picked from areas of the country that do not see harsh winters and the salt brine used in Vermont. We also offer a frame-saving fluid film undercoating to keep your new-to-you car, truck, or SUV going strong for years to come, because you and your hard-earned money deserve it.
So drive Route 14, 15, or 16 to Hardwick and get a certified pre-owned car, truck, or SUV at Lamoille Valley Ford. And remember, at Lamoille Valley Ford, We know price matters.
Hi, this is Tom Salmon, former Vermont State Auditor, here to remind you that with summer coming, buzz driving is drunk driving, even if you get a .086. It's greater than .08 and you broke the law. There are no excuses for overdrinking and help is available. Simply go to vthelplink.org. If you're a veteran, tell the VA, hey, if they can help me, they can help you. Do it and do it now.
WDEV at 90 is brought to you in part by New England Municipal Resource Center, NEMRIC, proudly supporting local government, local businesses, and WDEV.
For some people, all they need to know about weather is the high temperature for the day. But if you're one of those people who really wants to understand the hows and whys of weather, especially here in the Green Mountain State, then Roger Hill's Weather Classroom podcast is for you. Some of the topics I'll explore are the types of precipitation, global temperature averages, and tropical cyclones. Roger Hill's Weather Classroom podcast is available at WDEVradio.com, Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Reminder, Red Sox baseball tonight is at 8:38 with the pregame show. First pitch, 9:38. Sox taking on the Halos. Garrett Whitlock is on the mound. Joe Madden fired as the manager of the Angels, so we will see what Phil Nevin does in his managerial debut. Again, we will talk more about that tomorrow. We'll have Tom Caron, Red Sox insider of Ness, and you'll hear from him tomorrow on the show as well. Patriots are on the field this week for a couple of days at mandatory minicamp. And really, we talked earlier about the takeaways from today's portion of minicamp. There's four things kind of that I want to, gain some clarity on. You're never going to learn everything in a 3-day mandatory mini camp, but there's four things that I'm kind of looking for over the course of the next couple of days. One, how does the offensive coordinator play caller system work? For a while, we thought it was going to be Joe Judge. Then we thought maybe it'd be Bill Belichick. And now Jeff Howe of the Athletics says Matt Patricia has the leg up. So that's one we'll be watching. Two, Mac Jones and Devontae Parker. I want to see what their chemistry is like. Parker has spoken highly of Mac Jones since he got traded from the Dolphins to the Patriots. I want to see what that looks like on a field in real time. Kendrick Bourne is not there right now. He's got an excused absence. At least he had one today. So there's more chances for Parker to get involved here with Mac Jones. So I want to see what he looks like. I want to see what the plan is for Jonnu Smith moving forward. If you're asking me who is one guy that was on the Patriots last year who needs to take a massive step forward, it is Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith needs to be the guy they're paying him to be. They're paying him to be one of the top tight ends in the entire NFL. And last year, he averaged not even 2 catches a game. So I don't know how exactly they're going to use him this year. Maybe it's really straight as a tight end. Maybe they get the ball in his hands more as just a ball carrier and playmaker. I'm not sure, but they need something from Jonnu Smith. And finally, before we get out of here, the secondary. I'll be looking a lot at the secondary, looking to read a lot about the secondary. Questions there for sure. Terrence Mitchell, Malcolm Butler. That is an older secondary that I can't even say that it has upside. They're solid NFL players, but you have no stars in the secondary, and the secondary is increasingly a position where you want to have some star power. Pat's had it with Gilmore. Pat's had it with Revis. Pat's had it with Ty Law. Pat's had it with J.C. Jackson. They don't have it anymore. I like the back end. Kyle Duggar, Adrian Phillips. I like that. But Butler and Mitchell as your primary outside DBs, that's something that we need to watch for. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Those are questions we want answered this week and throughout the rest of the offseason. Jazz with George Thomas is coming up next. You can check him out from 7 o'clock until 8:38. At that point, it's Red Sox baseball. Go download the Brady Farkas Show podcast from our podcast channels on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Thanks to Greg Wyshynski from ESPN, who joined us to talk about Bruce Cassidy. I'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Brady Farkas Show out. Jazz with George Thomas next on DEV.
Don't go through another summer with that awful